This is Jake Knoeller reporting for Golden Gate Express on the Chomp Pod today. And today I will be interviewing Vince Inglima, the men's basketball head coach at San Francisco State. We're just going to be talking about what it's like to be a men's basketball coach. He's entering his seventh season now, and the season just started a bit ago. So, yeah, he's going to be talking about what it's like to be the head coach here for so many years. He was even the assistant coach here before that. So, yeah, he's going to be talking about those experiences as well as this season today. So, stay tuned.
My seventh season, but I've
Seven.
been here for 11 years at the university. I was assistant for 3. Then I took over. So I've been technically the head coach. This is my 8th year, but we had the COVID year. So it's like my 7th season. Yeah. So over a decade, man. Adds up. My hairline's showing it. So
That's how it goes. That's how it goes. But I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, obviously, if you're staying here, something must be going well. What is that like to stay at the same university for such a long time and see the growth?
in coaching, you don't get a lot of longevity typically, right? Like you have to move to advance, is there's just a limited number of schools. So to have the experience to be somewhere is kind of rare. And it's fun. Like, you really, like at this point, I really know this school. The academic side and what like the logistics, all the parts to it that make the job challenging at first, right? Those kind of been set aside. Like I can handle that stuff, and it really helps in being able to focus on the craft and the actual basketball part of it. Which like I mean, when you think about if you're a sport coach, you think, well, you got your 2 hours of practice, and that's the most important. But really, that's it's the most important part, but it's probably like 15% of my job. And so to be able to be in one place and know all the people in housing and financial aid and admissions, and to be able to work through a lot of those other things easier really helps you focus on the fun part of the basketball
Uh-huh.
side. And so it's been good. There's a lot of changes though. I mean, as 11 years here, you get like there's turnover. People change in positions, and the university's kind of going through changes right now. So there's always challenges everywhere you go, and but as far as places to be, it's pretty great one, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, yeah, it's absolutely a great place. What made you choose this school to begin with in terms of becoming an assistant coach here in the first place?
It was Paul Trevor. He was the head coach here at the time. I knew him. He coached at Sonoma State where I played. We weren't there at the same time. He was there before. He left before I got there, but we had some connections there, the mutual connections that so we'd been in touch and together. And his assistant was leaving, and I was at Cal State Monterey Bay at the time, and they were kind of going through some tough times. There was an athletic director change. We weren't winning a lot of games, and so it looked like a little precarious position. And Trev reached out, and the timing was good. My wife works, well, at the time worked in the Bay Area, so she was kind of commuting up, and I was commuting down to Santa Cruz a lot. So logistically for the family, it was a good fit, and basketball wise, and knowing Trev, and I thought it was a good fit there. And so yeah, that's kind of how it started, and it just kind of rolled on. At that time, I certainly didn't think I was going to be here and then moving up when he moved on, but you just got to be prepared for whatever opportunities come. So I played at Sonoma. I graduated there in 2006. And it was great. I was a junior college transfer, so I went to Cabrillo College, and so I did that, and then went to Sonoma, and it was a phenomenal experience. We were successful. We won a conference championship and went to the only one in school history, and we went to the national tournament and did all that stuff. It was a great experience, and really, smaller town school, so the community was really behind us, and it was great relationships. My best friends to this day are the guys that I played with on those teams there, and so after that, I was kind of not knowing what I was going to do next. And then the opportunity to play in Australia came up, and went down to the Melbourne area, and Dandenong Rangers, played there for 4 years in the second division of Australia. So not wasn't making a ton of money, but it was a great experience. I learned a ton about basketball, getting in a different culture and a different style of play, and playing with older guys, right? Like you're playing with men,
Yeah.
28, 29-year-old men that have played a lot of games. And so I got to see the game from a different angle. I think it helped me a ton in my transition to coaching, having that experience and being able to bring some of that in. And I was kind of getting to that point after 4 years where I'm not getting rich off doing this, right? Like I'm doing it. It's a great experience. But at some point it's like, am I going to lean into this? I'm going to move to Australia, get a regular job, keep playing basketball as well, and kind of do that in my next chapter, or am I going to come back and pivot and get off of playing so it's on that cusp there in that last year, and right at the end, Rob Bishop at Monterey Bay, his assistant left in like late July, and so he was scrambling, and so I got in touch with him, and it just kind of clicked that had an opportunity, so I jumped on it, and then kind of went into the coaching realm, and it's worked out pretty good.
That just worked out perfectly.
Yeah, like so much of life is opportunity. Like whatever path you think you're going on, like it's never going to be that way. And you have to
Uh-huh.
have plans, and you have strategies. But really, the most important thing for me in my life is just being prepared for when the opportunity comes. Are you doing the work so that when you get your chance, that you're ready to take advantage of it?
Yeah.
And you don't know where it's going to come. I didn't know Cal State Monterey Bay was going to be where went. But when that was there, I was prepared to take it and try to achieve as best I could there, and grow every day in the job so that when the next thing comes up, I'm ready for that. And yeah, it's hard, but like staying in the moment and just being okay to go a path that you didn't think you were going to take and make the most out of it can go a long way sometimes.
Yeah, I can. That's like a good general life lesson. I'm sure anyone watching this can relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I know like when I finished playing at Sonoma, I was 23. I had dedicated my entire life to the game of basketball. That's all I did. I mean, I
Yeah.
had a computer science degree, but I knew I didn't want to be a software engineer. And I was just kind of in neutral. I wasn't planning on playing professionally, but it was like, okay, now what's next in my life? And but I was staying in shape. I was still working out. I was helping the team out. I was doing all this stuff so that when that came up, that I had that opportunity to go, I was able to be successful there and carry on and then into various other steps. But yeah, I mean the best laid plans when you're young, they never kind of come out that way. But when you do the work, hopefully good things happen.
And was Monterey Bay where you ended up meeting your wife as well?
We actually we went to high school together,
Oh,
but we
nice.
weren't together at that time. But yeah, actually, we kind of started reconnecting in my off seasons when I was playing in Australia,
Oh, nice.
and so that was another factor in kind of that time why like I need to either make a change where we kind of go down there or I come back, and so that was kind of one of the other reasons on what made it important for me to really decide what path I was going to go on. And so yeah, again, it kind of worked out, and she was working in the Bay Area, so Monterey was obviously close. I had a couple other things where I was maybe going to have to go out to Kentucky. Kentucky Wesleyan assistant position was available, and there's a couple things out east, even farther than that. So like when Monterey came up, I really jumped on it because that was a professional and personal a win for me.
Yeah, exactly. It was like you got the best of both worlds. I mean, that's a great reason, yeah, to just set up your life out here. I mean, SF's a great city too.
It gets a little bit of bad publicity lately,
Yeah.
but I mean, really, like when you're, especially your age, in your late teens and 20s, there's nowhere better to be. Just the access to the world that you have here, and so it's a great place to recruit to. I mean, it's an easy sell. And like as you get older, and I got a 9 and a 6-year old, and you like, I live down in San Bruno. now. It's, you got a little yard and a little bit more for family kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
when you're young, man, like there's always something to do, and there's always something to see and learn. And so yeah, it's a blast being here, and our guys love it. Humboldt, up in Arcata, like like everything closes about 8.
Yeah,
We don't have that problem. We got the other problem. Nothing closes around here, so I got to make sure that
exactly.
they get.
You gotta
You
keep
could
them.
you could solve that easily with a few 7 a.m. workouts.
Uh,
That gets them to bed early, so yeah, solves the problem.
yeah. Yeah, you know they're not gonna be out late partying if they have to be there the next day.
Oh
I
well,
mean,
they might do
yeah.
it once, but they won't do it again. That's for sure.
Once they experience that, they're like, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. I mean, but it is tough. I mean, like, shoot, college kids are college kids.
Hmm.
And so there are those challenges, but that's part of growing up, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's learning how to balance those things as you get older in life. You'll have more and more balls that you got to keep spinning. And so it's great. Yeah, like yeah, you can get out in San Francisco 7 days a week. There's something going on, but can you regulate yourself? Like we talk with our guys, like if you're truly passionate about being an athlete, if you're truly passionate about being on a team and and having success, well, then you're going to make those decisions that put the team and your athletic success above what might be fun to do on Wednesday night. And those are good life lessons to get because those carry forward into everything else you're doing. As you get older and have bigger responsibilities on your plate. We hope that the lessons you kind of learn as a student, as an athlete, can translate and make you better in those times too. The pain of regret outweighs the pain of discipline. And so, like, what's more important to you? Is that you take the little bit of pain to be disciplined and stay focused on your task? Or do you take the big pain of in the future having this regret that I never achieved what I could have as a student? I never achieved what I could have as a basketball player. We never achieved what we could have as a team. And in that you live with the rest of your life. To get where you want to go, like if you want to be a great basketball player, it takes what it takes. Like there's no shortcut to it. You
Hmm.
can't just, well, I showed up, I'm all of a sudden I'm really good.
Yeah.
Like, no, you got to put in the work. You got to watch the film. You got to lift the weights. You got to be in great shape. You got to get in the gym. You got to work on your handling. You got to shoot the ball. You got to watch the film and adjust and learn how to do all these things. Like, and there's no other way to do that but then to do it. And when your body is part of you, is your tool as an athlete, well, like if you're hungover or you're only getting 4 hours of sleep or whatever, well, you're not going to be able to do those things at the level you could have.
Yeah, those are concepts that it takes like years for most people to learn, but I mean, when you're having it taught to you in this setting, it's definitely got to be a lot better because it's like you're seeing in real time how it affects you and how it can change.
Yeah, and I mean that's what the nice thing about having this being a sport coach is everybody's there voluntarily,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I get to speak to them through the conduit of basketball, which is something that they love. And so to use that is an easier way to teach it than maybe if I'm trying to teach these lessons in you know algebra class, right? Like
Yeah.
with a bunch of kids that don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the advantages. Like you have this thing that and you have a limited amount of time that you get to do this basketball thing in your life, and like let's make the most of it. And so yeah, hopefully we do.
Yeah, yeah, let's hope so.
But what we have done is played really well together. We've played really hard, and we have guys that want to do it for each other and want to
Hmm.
make you better. I want you to succeed, and you want me to succeed, and that's been the key for us. And when we've kind of had our best seasons, when we're winning 20 games and doing those things, is when those things click for us.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part of well, one of the fun parts of coaching is trying to put that puzzle together, right? And
Hmm.
finding the right combinations of personalities and skills that can make the sum bigger than the whole or right, but the product is bigger than the sum of the parts. I think that's what I'm trying to
Yeah. No,
say.
that sounds right. Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah, it's like you said, still like despite not being a big budget team, I mean, one year you were projected to finish last in the conference and then you ended up finishing third, was that? That was what I heard.
Yeah.
recently. I mean, that's like crazy, It's like it really goes to show that it's all about like when you put that finished product on the court, like how are these guys playing together? How committed are they?
Yeah, and I mean, even in that year, on January 2nd, we were in last place. And we went to Monterey Bay right before Christmas, and we I think we shot 19% from the field or something, and we got blown out, and it was like we were at the rock bottom.
Hmm.
And in that time, it's very easy for it just to like you're down, you're out, and you coast down to the end of the season, and it blows up, and you finish last, and everybody's miserable. But the credit to those guys is they weren't going to let that happen, and just kept showing up to work every day and getting better and doing all the steps, and then we get one, and we get another one, and we get another one, and then we won 7 out of 8 and like 12 out of 15 to end that season, and really skyrocketed up, and by the end of the year we were playing as good as anybody. We had an injury and foul trouble issue in the playoffs that cost us. But like those things happen.
Hmm.
But yeah, but that kind of gets back to just reinforces for us as a coaching staff, you got to have the right people, because the wrong people in that situation, they fracture, and that season ends up in the bottom, and it's down
Yeah.
the toilet, and you're moving on. But instead of going away, they came together, and it was a super fun, great run, and we got to the point like early in the year, like we're going into games like, man, I don't see how we can win this game, and then 4 weeks later, it's like, I don't see how we can lose this game.
Yeah, yeah.
And those are fun things. It's watching a group grow like that. It's again a lesson. Where you're at right now is just where you're at right now,
Hmm.
and as humans, we project out, well, like, I feel terrible right now, I'm going to feel terrible forever. It's easy to,
Yeah.
or I feel great right now, I'm going to feel great forever. And neither of those is right.
Yeah.
Neither of those is true. And like that's, using sport as that way to teach lessons in life is like, yeah, we were at the bottom of the bottom. It was the worst. It couldn't get any worse than that. And we found a way to get to the top. And so that, hopefully that's something that can translate into other situations in your life. You lose your job or whatever, like, okay, what's next? And how,
Yeah.
if, as long as you keep the right mindset and keep focused and open to opportunities, you can give yourself a chance to dig yourself out of some of those last place holes.
Yeah, it's a good analogy. It's like you can be having the worst day, but you don't know where you're gonna be at a couple weeks from now or
A couple
months.
hours, right?
Yeah, just
Like,
hours.
yeah.
And I think like last season wasn't it a similar thing as well, where you
I
went
know
on a
we're
late
forming a
season
habit,
run?
aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were 1-5 in conference.
Hmm.
And then again, we found our stride, and we had a great end of season run, and we've been in the conference tournament, of my 10 seasons here, we've been in the conference tournament 7 times, which is the third most of any team in the conference. So it's a really challenging league that we play in, and so I'm proud of that. I mean, obviously, we haven't won a conference tournament championship yet,
Hmm.
so we're still working on that. But like the journey is the journey, and we're striving to win, and we're gonna win. Like it's gonna happen. We're showing up every day. I don't know when,
Yeah.
right? But we're gonna end up on top. The process of putting this effort in consistently is what builds up that callus that allows you to have those successes in the games and for this span of a season.
Yeah, no, that optimism and also just enjoying the process is so important. You can't just be like looking ahead to the destination. It's all about enjoying every minute of it and then before you know it, you can find yourself at the top.
Talking about that with uh, Drew, assistant coach, we play 30 games a year. That means we have 335 days of not game in a
Yeah.
year. Like if we're putting all of our eggs in those 30 days, and the other days are irrelevant, like that's going to lead to a pretty miserable life, right? Like
Yeah.
you're going to be unhappy a lot, and like practice is my by far I like practice more than games. A lot less
Oh,
stressful.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, makes
and
sense.
and like Monday's my favorite day of the week, right? Like we play on the weekend, and so Sunday I'm watching the film, I'm thinking about it, and then Monday we get to come back in and we get to fix the problems we have. We get to prepare for the next team and get back to work. And I'm truly fortunate to have a job where Monday is my favorite day of the week, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm looking forward to getting back to work and the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday practice for Thursday, like, that's the fun.
Yeah.
Our guys don't always see it that way. It's the process, like you said, enjoying getting ready for the game helps you enjoy the game, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and that's got to be really fun to kind of like you're watching that film on Sunday, you're picking out all those little things, and then you come back Monday with like sort of an agenda. You're like, this is what we need to work on, and then it's got to be, lead to a lot of optimism for the next game. I was going through the Memphis Grizzlies roster the other day, and I noticed that someone who recently played in the CCAA is like a pro now.
Jalen Wells,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad we're not playing against him anymore. He was a special player. Sonoma got him, and he had a really solid freshman year. But he ended up growing 2 more inches, and then his sophomore year he was unbelievable. Like MVP of the league, 23 points a game, and single-handedly kind of carried them through the year. Then he ended up transferring up to Washington State and got on in the Grizzlies, and yeah, pretty remarkable story from basically a kid who was hardly recruited out of high school
Yeah.
to 3-4 years later being on the Grizzlies. So
Yeah.
yeah, pretty wild. But I mean, those stories happen. It's fun, and credit to him. He blossomed and grew and got a lot better. And credit to Sonoma, they really developed him.
Yeah, it's got to be just really cool as someone involved with the CCAA just to see that happen because it's like you never know who the next player that's gonna be is, you know? It could be anyone as they continue growing, they can just all of a sudden be a professional basketball player. I mean, it's
Yeah, well,
crazy.
there's a ton of guys that end up playing overseas, like
Hmm.
myself. There have not in my I'm coming up on 20 years my affiliation with this conference.
Yeah.
And there's 3 or 4 guys that have ended up making it to the NBA at some level. Not really necessarily guys that have been long careers, but and there's a handful of Division II guys that make it periodically. So it's fun, and it's exciting to be able to see those guys that like I remember trying to run a scouting report against that guy.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's pretty cool. Last summer, we went to 2 weddings, Coley Apse and Nick Calcaterra, of guys that played here.
Oh, nice.
And to have, be able to go there and, be invited there is nice.
Yeah.
And to see these guys full circle as they become men and parents and and husbands and like obviously like we're very passionate about basketball and winning basketball games. The human side of it is really where the long lasting joy and fulfillment comes from. And to see those things, I mean, Justice Howard works in the city, and he coaches or he's a PE teacher, and he coaches a flag football team. He was here about 10 years ago, and he'll text me their trophy. They won their 7th grade flag football championship, and Israel Akeem played it. He's now the Mills High basketball coach, and still, so he's kind of gone from the player to now he's coaching high school kids and coming up to and watching our practices
Hmm.
just yeah, like it's a real treat to feel like you had a hand in these guys' story. Like you go through school and there's a teacher or two usually that you kind of connect with, and but coaching is really full on. Like you're every day, multiple hours a day, and you're taking road trips and your off season workouts and all these things where you get pretty connected. Like I still love reconnecting with my coaches and Pat Fiscaldo at Sonoma and Tony Mercopoulos at Cabrillo and Bruce Barnes in high school and like all these guys. They had a big impact on me, and you want to be able to have some impact on others and kind of pay that forward. And you know, hopefully, we're doing a little bit of that.
This has been Jake Knoeller reporting for Golden Gate Express with the Chomp Pod. Thank you for tuning in today.